Wouldn't it be great if you could spot these people who are just in it to use you before you invested too much? Because the ugly truth about relationships is the more we invest, the more we are likely to invest, regardless of whether that investment is good or not. So, in this video, I'm going to share 7 signs someone is using you so you can look for the signs in your own life. So, the first sign is that it is one sided and you put in all the effort. If you find that you are the only one making an effort and in every area you're just pulling dead weight, then this person is probably using you. So if you're new around here, first of all, welcome. My name is Christina. I'm a narcissistic abuse recovery coach. And on this channel, I really like to highlight some of the gems from the comment section on the YouTube videos because I think they do such a great job at highlighting the points that we talk about here. So let's look at a comment that really illustrates the one-sided nature of being in a relationship with someone who's using you. This commenter says, I find they like one-sided fake intimacy, like this guy lately. He loved me spilling my guts, crying, opening up, etc. But then I realized that he loved the drama of it and used my insecurities and pain to throw back at me. Then again, that's not real intimacy. He didn't care about my hobbies and interests and what made me me. And he didn't share much either unless it was to brag. Then I realized they don't get intimate because they have no real character or personality. And in intimacy, we see the real person. That's probably why they're repelled from it. So the next sign is they only reach out when they need something from you. So maybe you try to get a hold of them and you can never get a hold of them. They don't call you back. They don't answer the phone. And then suddenly they need something and there they are blowing up your phone. Or they seem to drop off the face of the earth and you don't hear from them for months. And then all of a sudden they show up with some emergency that they absolutely need your help with. Then you help them and they go back into hiding. That person is using you. So again, look at the person as a whole and look at all of their actions, not just their words, but their actions. And if you were to call them out of the blue and said you needed help with something, would they drop everything and help you? If the answer is yes, then it doesn't matter that you haven't heard from them in a long time. Always look at the entire situation. And one area where we talk about this a lot, where we talk about someone having the expectations that you should be there for them, but not ever showing up for you, is when you're in a relationship with somebody who's highly narcissistic, who really shows that they only care about themselves, and you get sick. So if you had the misfortune of being in a relationship with a narcissist and getting sick, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And here's a comment from somebody who has lived through it. You can tell by the frustration in their tone. So this commenter says, and not only when you're sick, but when you're pregnant or post-op from hernia surgery or anything that takes any time off their needs or attention. Our love and energy and kindness and faithfulness towards them is never reciprocated. We deserved better. So another sign that someone is using you is a little bit more subtle. And the sign is that they dismiss your feelings. And this will be consistent across the board, but especially look for times when they dismiss your feelings about their actions. So if you're saying that you were upset about something they did, they hurt your feelings, or if you're just looking for them to take some accountability. If they're gaslighting you or if they're dismissing your feelings, this is a red flag that this person is ready and willing to steamroll you at any chance. They don't really care about you as a person. And what does that say about the relationship? And this next one is a shout out to my people pleasers out there. If someone is using you, they're going to very much take advantage of your kindness and generosity. And they're also going to take advantage of the anxiety you feel around saying no to people when they ask you for things. So if you notice that you do a favor for someone and all they do is ask you for more and more and more, this person is using you. So this is a sign that they're just testing the limits and they're seeing how much you will give before you start saying no. And this is why it's so important to have boundaries. Because if we're just giving and giving and giving, yes, it sounds kind and noble, but really you're giving way too much of yourself. You end up in the end giving more of yourself than you ever signed up for. And unfortunately, you're going to end up realizing that when it feels like it's too late. It's not too late, but there's definitely going to be some damage done. People who are willing to use other people for their own personal gain can really have an impact on your self-worth and your self-esteem if you let them get too close. So another sign that someone might be using you is that conversations always revolve around them and what they have going on. If you bring something up, they will find a way to shift the conversation back to themselves. And this can get a little bit tricky because sometimes they will seem interested in what you have to say about yourself. And there are two things that could be going on that you might want to look out for here. So it could be that they're looking for fuel for their gossip. So if you know someone who has a tendency to gossip, and usually they like to talk about themselves, but suddenly they're hanging on your every word and they're asking questions to clarify your story, you can bet that they're taking mental notes so that they can retell it to other people. And now here's a comment from one of you with very strong opinions about gossiping. Let's see if you agree. This commenter says, gossip is evil. It's a form of soul murder, in my opinion. That's why I've tried to do my best not to engage anymore when it comes my way. If you've been a victim of malicious gossip and slander, you realize how horrible and vicious it truly is. And that's a very good point. It can feel like it's harmless when it's not about you. But if you think about what it might feel like to be in the other person's shoes, it's not harmless at all. And it can lead to hurt feelings at best. It's always best to avoid gossip at all costs. Or the second thing is that they could be trying to force a connection. So manipulative people really do like to force that rapport before it is natural. And they can do this very easily by getting you to talk about yourself. So imagine there's someone in your life who seems to find something fascinating about you or what you do, something about your life. And they have brought it up 100 times before. And they ask you all kinds of questions. They just seem so interested. And that probably feels good, right? Because we like when people are interested in us. And a lot of people really do like to talk about themselves. So that's not the part to look out for because all that stuff sounds good, right? But what to look out for is if you're the one to bring up a topic like this and you want to talk about something that maybe they haven't prepped for. Watch their eyes glaze over as if it were something that were completely disinteresting to them. And this may happen in natural conversation too, when you can tell that this is a conversation that somebody needed to prep for. So if you ever get that feeling, I would say just start paying attention. Might be that they were trying to impress you, or it might be that they're manipulating you and they don't actually have a genuine interest in you or your interests. They're just pretending because they know that you'll end up letting your guard down if you feel comfortable with them. So another sign that someone might be using you is that they make promises and never follow through. And the reason why someone who's using you might do this is because they want to make it seem like they're doing so much for you. They want to make it seem like your big payout is right around the corner. Like they have all these connections that they can connect you with. They never actually do. They kind of just dangle that like a carrot to make you think that if you only do all these things for them, then eventually one day you can cash in on your favor. But one day never comes. So again, this kind of goes back to number one, doesn't it? Pay attention to a relationship that feels one-sided. And if your counter to that one-sidedness is just smoke and mirrors, pay attention to that too. So if you're saying something like, well, I know they haven't done anything yet, but that's something to pay attention to. That could be a red flag. And now I want to share a comment from one of you who has dealt with these empty promises. Now I know a lot of you have, but this one does show the extremes to which it can go. So this commenter says, full of false promises / excuses and moving goalposts. I promise I will erase Tinder from my phone, but I need time to rearrange app icons. Give me 1 week. 1 week has passed and still Tinder is on. And when I mentioned it, he went ballistic. Why do you always push me and control me? I promised I would and I will, but in my own time. I need time to arrange icons. Okay, then just leave. I don't even want to be with somebody who doesn't trust me. Oh boy, there was a lot to unpack there. And as this comment went on, it sounds like the person who wrote it came to some realizations of their own. Sometimes just writing out your story can help you see it plain as day because we tend to romanticize things or we make up excuses for people or we just buy into the gaslighting because we've dealt with so much gaslighting before that it just seems like the natural thing to do. But when you put it in black and white, it hits a little different. And the next sign that someone is using you is that your gut instinct is telling you that they're using you. If you're having that thought, and if you're watching this video to see if someone in your life kind of aligns with all of these signs, you probably already have your answer. Because once we get to that point where we start looking out in the world for signs and confirmation of what we already know, at that point, we usually know more than we're willing to admit to ourselves. And if you're in this place and you feel like you need just a tiny little bit of a nudge, I have a video that I definitely want you to watch. That is 5 signs that divine guidance is telling you it's time to move on. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, but definitely with me, sometimes we all need that little bit of a kick, that little bit of a nudge to tell us it's really time to go. So go ahead, watch that video. Before you go, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you next time.